Hi guys, I'm on this beautiful beach in Cambodia and I wanted to give you a little bit of a break from the room without a view that I've been filming from up until now. I'm afraid you're going to see it in a few more videos because I filmed them previously to making this one. And I apologise for my sunglasses. I try not to wear sunglasses normally because I think it's quite nice to have some kind of feeling of eye contact when you're talking about things that I want to, connect with you about, but it's just very sunny. And I want to give you a little heads up and tell you the next part of the Chris Watts interview is going to be, I'm going to post that on Thursday. So this is going to be quite a different kind of video to the other ones. I had such a good response to the last video, which was already sort of a bit different to how they usually are. So I wanted to give this a go. And just prepare you now that it's going to be quite a different experience, at least from about halfway through onwards. So if you can, it would be great if you can watch this on your own somewhere where you can just relax, and be yourself, and no one's necessarily going to be staring at you. So probably work might not be the best place to look at it unless you work in a very easygoing kind of office. I think for some of you the second half of this video might seem quite scary. It might seem corny. No, it could seem all kinds of things. I think that these videos I've made can be attractive to people who are just interested in crime, and so it might feel like I'm going off at a tangent. But if you can just accept that you feel like that and still give it a go, then I think you will find that you get something out of it. In the last video I talked about how important it is to focus on love, but I've since thought about it and thought about how hard it can sometimes be to access that part of ourselves and to be able to feel that feeling of love. It's something that we often say flippantly, lots of love or love you or whatever, but we don't necessarily feel it when we're saying that word. So part of this video is going to be about how we access that feeling within ourselves. People who've emailed me about my course idea, I talked to subscribers in a video I made fairly recently about the idea of setting up courses, and the response was amazing. So I've decided that I am going to set up courses. Where I am now, I'm going to start filming from here so that you've got a beautiful backdrop to look at, and then we'll get together every week and have a group session online. So for all those people who've emailed me about that, I'm sorry again that I couldn't get back to most of you personally. I've had to send out this general email, but please know that I really value your emails. Any ideas you've had about the courses, I've considered them. I've read all of your emails, I've kept them all, and when I finally do have the course made, which is not going to be anytime soon, okay, just so you know, I don't want to create any expectations about that because I'm really at the beginning of even making them. But once they're ready, I'll let you know first before I tell other people on a video, so that you can get a head start if you do want to go on one of the courses. Out of all the videos I've made, the last one I posted was the one that was for me the most cathartic to make by far, and I was so pleased to get the response I did from it and to feel like people really heard the message. I edited out quite a lot of the last video because I felt that it was getting repetitive. I didn't want to lose people because of sort of repeating the same message. I didn't want them to miss the rest of what I wanted to talk about. So I ended up cutting parts out, but there are things that I want to put back in here because I think that maybe I was a bit too quick to remove them. When you have a bad day, when something annoys you, and then it just puts you in a bad mood and the rest of your day just goes out of the window. And the example I gave was when you get a parking ticket. You know, usually when it happens, you feel angry. You at least feel annoyed. Depending on how annoying it is, you might feel angry. And often I find that it kind of multiplies. Then something else really annoying happens. Maybe because you're in a bad mood, it just brings on more and more annoying things. But while this stuff is going on, you don't tend to feel love. I mean, love is usually the furthest thing, certainly from my mind, when I'm really frustrated that I have a parking ticket, you know. And if you just compare that, if you compare the sort of thing that will ruin your day and put you in an angry mood, make you stressed, make you very sort of uncharitable towards people, you know, not really in any kind of generous mood. If you just compare that to what the Rzuceks are going through and the enormity of what they're now experiencing, the fact that they can still be loving, the fact that Shanann's mother, Sandy, shook her head when she was in floods of tears when Dr. Phil asked her if, now that she knew more information in terms of what Chris is saying happened anyway, would she agree to the death penalty. She shook her head. I just find it incredible. And I don't want to say that it's incredible in that these people are something that we could never be, because I think the whole point really of why they're such an amazing example is because we can all be like that. When I looked at the, you know, at that interview, people say that I'm really calm when I talk about him and that that's useful to them, but I found it incredibly disturbing and had to do a few retakes when I was filming because for everything I've said about how people are not evil, you know, at their core, what he did was evil, right? And incredibly disturbing. So I'm kind of nervous about putting it out, you know, putting these next videos out, because they're so disturbing. The reason I make these videos about Chris Watts is not because I'm interested in crime. It's because I want to teach people about people like Chris Watts, and I want to help you to avoid getting into the trap that Shanann got into, and also because I want to help people who've already been there to come to terms with what's actually happened and to see what was and wasn't their responsibility. I think the more people understand narcissism, the more they can free themselves of feeling to blame for what's happened, and that in itself is a huge part of healing. But nevertheless, the videos are going to be very negative. They're going to bring up a lot of negative feelings in people who watch them, and the opposite of love is fear, and I don't like the idea of a lot of fear coming to the surface when people watch videos like that. So I want us to counteract that fear element, because fear is what was at the root of, in my opinion, at the root of Chris Watts' childhood, and fear is something that is a very destructive force. So if we can counter that fear with love, you know, then so that when after you've watched the videos, if you can bring yourself back to a place of love, I think that could be, you know, I think that could hopefully make up for the negative impact of the videos. So, so I want to send my love and your love, because I know that the vast majority of you have so much empathy for the Rzuceks. I've seen it all over the comments section, how much you care about them. When I talk about sending our love, I'm talking about the feeling of love in a very real way. So in order for us to be able to do that, we need to first of all get that feeling of love. This isn't going to be hypnosis, but you might find yourself entering a kind of trance. So if you have a condition that means hypnosis or meditation can set you off and make your condition worse, please do seek medical advice before going ahead with this exercise. Try to find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. I know this is different to what you usually get on this channel, and you might be wondering what on earth you signed up for by watching this video, but just give it a go, you've got nothing to lose. And what you're going to discover is that sending love to people makes you feel loved as well. And so it's a really healthy way to heal in general in life. Finding love inside you, not just theoretically, but actually pinning down that feeling and getting in touch with it is just an amazing way to feel good. When someone contacts me thinking that they are a narcissist, one of the things that I recommend is mindfulness. That's, when I work with people, I use mindfulness a lot. So it can help people who who are narcissists or who have strong narcissistic traits, and it can also help victims of abuse, because both of them, for both of these people, it's really important to get in touch with your core, your core self. People can get so caught up in the story of what happened and actually miss out on themselves. Both narcissists and victims of abuse can feel like they're someone different from who they are. They've been given a different story about who they are when they were growing up, and so it can be hard to get in touch with who they really are, and that's such a massive part of healing. A lot of you won't be familiar with looking for emotional feelings in your body. That's one of the core components of mindfulness, and which I think is a wonderful practice. So it might take you a bit of time to find an emotion in your body, but it's something that can be really helpful when you get used to doing it. In your body, you store so many different emotions. You might recognise that as tension in your shoulders, when you feel stress. But you can also feel really good emotions in your body. It's really helpful in reducing stress and in getting to know yourself better. It has so many positive effects. Really, all this is an exercise in concentration. So all you need to do to be able to do this is to focus as much as you can. Not with any pressure on yourself though. Focus in a relaxed way, and if you find yourself thinking about other things, just come back to what you're visualizing. For those of you who've emailed about the courses, I'm going to be doing similar exercises to this one on the course. I'm going to be doing other kinds of exercises too, but some of them are going to be like this one and use visualizations and nature and mindfulness. So you're going to have an idea now of what those exercises are going to be like. This is going to be a shorter version though. And I'm also going to do a course that's just based on mindfulness and visualizations for people who haven't necessarily suffered from narcissistic abuse, because I think it's so useful for everyone. I think nature has a really strong effect on us. So if you'll join me, I'm going to do some mindfulness combined with a visualization exploring love. Just start off with noticing where the tension is in your body. Just notice how your shoulders feel, how your neck feels. And what's your breathing like? Is it slow or fast? Notice how your chest feels. Start to let your shoulders soften. And let your neck soften. Just start to let go of the tension. Let your chest relax. And your stomach relax. And let your back relax. Imagine someone you love. It doesn't have to be someone that you still know or someone who's still in your life. They don't even have to be alive. It doesn't have to be a person, it can be an animal. They need to have loved you back, fully, completely loved you, without holding anything back. So it can't be a narcissist. If you can't think of a person or an animal who you've had this love for and from, You can make someone up. You can use an imaginary person or an imaginary animal. So it needs to be a person or an animal who loved you, who, when you were around them, you had this feeling of love. So if you imagine that person that you love or animal that you love, just try and remember this person or animal. And if you have hugged them, you could imagine what that felt like. If it's a child, how did you feel when the child laughed? And that works for an adult as well. If you imagine them laughing, this person who really loved you or loves you still, if it was an animal, if when you stroked them, maybe if it was a cat, when the cat purred, can you remember what that feels like? If it's a dog, maybe how do you feel when the dog wags its tail? So if you can feel that feeling of love, just focusing on that for a while. You can ask yourself to make that feeling bigger. Ask yourself for more of that love feeling. And you can replay the memories again, you know, of the hug. Of the laughing. Of the animals purring or wagging their tails. And now play it again, that memory, in more detail. If it's an animal, how does the fur feel when you touch it? Is it long or short? Does it feel soft? What are its eyes like? If it's a cat, does the cat close and open its eyes to show you it loves you? How does the cat feel against your body? Is it warm? What about when the animal came running to see you? What did it feel like when it looked into your eyes? If it's a person, what are they wearing? How did it feel when you had your arms around each other? What did they smell like? Can you remember their eyes? What did it feel like when their eyes were looking into yours? When they were smiling at you? Now I want you to step into their shoes. That's metaphorical if it's an animal. Look at yourself through their eyes. What do they love about you? Can you find that feeling in your body? Is it in your chest? And if it is, what side of your chest is it on? If you can find it, just focus on it. And then ask yourself for more of that feeling. And as you ask for more of it, that feeling in your body might get bigger. If you can't get the feeling, if you can't find the feeling in your body and you can't feel it, that's okay. Doesn't mean anything. Because we've only done it for a very short time. This is something that the more you do it, the easier it becomes to find the feelings in your body. And you start to get more and more in touch with them. So you can do it lots of times, you can play this again if you want. Or just remember what I've said. And you'll get better at it. Let's go back to that memory one last time. Remember that hug. Imagine that really lovely hug. Really tight hug. With this person that completely loves you. And you completely love them, so there's nothing held back from either of you. It's just a really tight hug. Imagine the cat purring again. Maybe you're stroking the cat and maybe the cat's cuddled up to you. What's it like to stroke the animal? Maybe the animal licks your hand. Now that feeling that you're feeling, if you are, let's take that and send it to the Rzuceks. If you imagine them, you've probably all seen pictures of them. So if you imagine them now, giving them this love. Maybe you're giving them a hug. Maybe you can imagine giving them a hug. how they might respond to all this love coming at them from different directions across the world. If this feeling of love is not something that you are feeling very often at the moment, then it's a really good idea to keep doing this. So I'm going to leave it there. And you can always do this again. If you do end up watching any more videos about Chris Watts, you can always come back to doing this afterwards. Thank you for trying this out with me. I'll see you in the next video or in another video in the future. Take care of yourselves.